calmness, serenity, but it also comes with a lot of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And there are men that are full of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Good morning to you, Felix Nkunda. I'm very well. You look lovely in blue. Yes, you do.
Thank you so much. You look lovely yourself.
Merci beaucoup.
You say today is Women's Day. Wednesday?
Yes, yeah, Woman Crush Wednesday.
So basically, what's that indeed?
Well, you get to highlight a woman that you think has done phenomenal things in your life or in any sort of situation for that matter. And so this morning we'll be crushing on some of these women as Good Morning Uganda does continue. But another man that is wearing blue this morning is Robert Shirabo Nyonintono. Good morning to you, Robert.
Good morning, Priscilla.
You equally look good. I think I'm going to have to borrow one of these jackets and try them on later on, just so I'm in class, right?
Well, I love your yellow. I don't know, is it for party affiliation? Is it for anything? Or you've just decided to put on yellow?
When is this color thing going to stop affiliating to politics? We had it the whole of last year, from November to January, and even Electoral Commission advised stay away from party colors. Elections are done and dusted, guys. We are allowed to be ourselves. Is it not my human right to wear yellow?
There's one of the leaders who told us that
it is then also something, so you should also be mindful. But Priscilla and Felix, I'm happy that you guys are here this morning, and of course we're excited to be speaking to our viewers this morning. There is a gentleman who sent you greetings. He's called Rollins Socheng, and he's heading Garden City Security. So he told me yesterday. Just
outside. I mean, if I walk outside this morning,
meet him. You just meet
Lawrence,
him.
I'll definitely come by and say hello to you in person. Thank you so much for the
So he hates that. I went there again yesterday to do some shopping, and I was like, hey, Robert. Like, okay, where is Felix? Where is Priscilla? I told him we work together, but we don't move together often. So everyone is minding their own business.
If I may ask, Felix, have you watched the movie The Three Musketeers?
Definitely.
Definitely. So does that resonate with The Three Musketeers?
I don't think so. I don't think.
But, colleagues, something funny happened yesterday. Yesterday, I tried to move to some area called Ngobebu Namoaya. A friend of mine lost a wife, so I went to sympathize, pray with him, stand with him. As I was leaving, he stays uphill, so I had to park a bit down. Now, what was interesting, Priscilla and Felix, there is this friend of mine, he owns a drone. You know drones, Priscilla?
It depends. Today, drones mean something else. They mean cars. There's a certain type of cars.
Drone.
Yes, the actual drone that I know is the the mini camera that flies about.
No, actually be particular because the drone
this time not the mini camera, the car, the van.
Oh, okay.
It was about 7. I had just finished watching news at his place, and I decided to then drive to my place. So this guy with a drone comes and parks because he knew me. So he parks to say hi. I saw Boda men scattering. I was like, what is happening? So I got to understand that now these vehicles, to some people scatter. That also, I knew the person, but when you sleep around, you're scattering like there is trouble. So I thought, what is wrong? Only him to tell me, man, I want to sell off this car. But sometimes wherever I park at some places, people just run there and then.
Actually, they say today that Labadroni Duka.
Duka. That's the language on the street. Whatever drone, take off.
Duka.
You either run or it comes for you.
So it's something I said, well, have we gotten to this level where people can just have a site at a drone van and they all have to look for hideouts?
That's true.
Speaking about running, I remember talking about colors. One of the former presidential contenders told us that we'll be running away from one color one colleague is putting on one day. You will see it and run if you find it in the street. But I guess politics is long gone anyway. But something quite interesting again, speaking about our love, you know that we're just sort of like drawing closer and closer to the D-Day, probably the day that people will be there to unleash themselves against them own selves. But I just want to ask something, do you people think that, how best do you think this day should be celebrated? Robert?
That is Valentine's Day?
Yes.
Well, first and foremost, the important thing is giving time to the people that you cherish or who your Valentine will be. Many of the time, the world has made us very, very busy. Give time, make this person feel special. Sharing, giving gifts is also a sign of love. So I basically believe it's finding time finding time with this person. If it is a relationship, maybe for a husband and a wife, a mother and a son, or a judge or a grandee, find some time, talk to these people, you know, appreciate them. Basically, appreciate the person you've selected to be your Valentine, because people have different Valentines. Some, it could be the wife, it could be the boyfriend, the girlfriend, others the mother, the father, a grandmother. For Felix's case, usually it is the grandmother. So find time for this person, appreciate them, make them feel special.
Priscilla.
Yes.
What do you think is the best gift for 14th February?
Well, the best gift for 14th of February, well, I think for me would be to love on yourself. Love on yourself. Love on yourself.
How is that done?
Let me tell you, people pour so much into others and they get drained, and then they are the ones who sit back and realize, oh, but they didn't do this for me, or I didn't get this, or you know, all these things. So if you don't have someone in your life that you feel is loved by you or to you, then simply have a sit back and have a self-evaluation. Fall in love with yourself this Valentine's. Do things for yourself this Valentine's. Even if he's going to do something, even if she's going to do something, even if they are going to do something, you need to first fall in love with yourself, because from the fullness of your heart, then you can share it with others. But if you have nothing, you are empty, you cannot give something to someone that you actually do not have.
For that, let me first take my tamarind drink. Love on yourself. Well, for me, I say never regret anything you do for love. Even if you gave a car and in return you have a tie or a something, never regret anything.
Wow.
Just be proud that you once fell in love. Sometimes people leave this world without falling in love.
You see, Robert, stop those mimics.
So let me enjoy my...
But of course, speaking about love, Robert, as Robert speaks, sips rather, on his Hallelujah ginger tea drink, we do also ask all our viewers out there to, again, start your day with Hallelujah ginger tea or tamarind drink. And mostly for those people who have any sort of throat issues, you have issues of diabetes, this drink is particularly made without any additives, definitely natural. And it is one of the drinks that is made here in Uganda, as we do promote by Uganda and building Uganda. And of course, we'll dash into our local stories, and Priscilla and Robert.
Well, we get to start looking at the last 24 hours, a very interesting story that is now gripping every eyesight and ear of Ugandans. They want to know what is happening with the Kyagulanyi versus Museveni petition that is ongoing, starting off yesterday. And the National Unity Platform prayers to court seeking for an amendment have suffered a stillbirth after the principal legal advisor to government, the Attorney General William Byarhanga, used the 2016 John Patrick Amama Mbabazi versus Museveni case form a basis upon which the NUP's prayers for an amendment to their early petition fell off the cliff to be considered as it was in its original format. In this report, treading carefully with facts, the Attorney General told court that the Mbabazi versus Museveni court ruling of 2016 pointed to a fact in its recommendations that it required time to file and deliver any verdict in any petition, a position that the very Supreme Court has conquered within its ruling to maintain the status quo of adhering to NUP's evidence in their earlier petition. However, the principal legal advisor to government, the Attorney General William Byarhanga, in his submissions told court that the pleadings were by law closed yesterday at the moment all parties finished putting in their responses and submissions. The Attorney General also cited the 2016 Amama Mbabazi presidential election petition, saying that the required time to file and deliver any verdict in any petition was raised by Supreme Court in its recommendations. On this, the petitioner's time was extended from 10 days to 15 days, and Byarhanga then prayed to court to dismiss the application, saying it lacks merits on all grounds for court to grant it. According to the presidential electoral petition rules, there are time limits to file the petition. This literally means that for court to allow the amendment, it will have violated the civil procedure rulings governing the Honorable Court.
And away from matters of court, and that's the petition, we now move to Parliament, where Parliament deferred the passing of a supplementary budget yesterday to Thursday this week, following mislinks raised by members of Parliament. Top on the concern was the procurement of ambulances, a program members of Parliament say did not cater for hard-to-reach areas. Speaker of Parliament Rebecca Kadaga agreed with the MPs on the consideration of motorized boat ambulances for island districts. However, there were punches in this when the supplementary budget request presented by the Vice Chairperson of the Budget Committee of Parliament, Patrick Isingi, is also the Member of Parliament for Kachumbala County in Bukedia District. Among the supplementary votes was that of ensuring that over 200 ambulances for local government units across the country are purchased. Good as the move may be, members of Parliament were not convinced enough. As if that wasn't enough, the request for the Land Compensation Fund attracted more suspicions. Not even an explanation by the Minister for Lands, Betty Kamya, was enough to calm the heat. This prompted the Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Litwala Kadaga, to defer the matter for further scrutiny. Whether the concern raised by the members of Parliament on the proposed supplementary budget will be met is an answer that Ugandans will get to know on Thursday.
The non-government organization Bureau is concerned with the conduct of NGOs that have gone ahead to paint a picture that the president ordered the suspension of the DGF on wrong advice. Patrick Onen Izaga, the public relations officer, told journalists at Media Center that the president acted within his powers and therefore called for the affected NGOs to respect government decision. Non-government organization Bureau has castigated 9 NGOs for engaging in dissatisfactory activities following the suspension of democratic governance facility in Uganda by the head of state. The matter of DGF suspension is still at cabinet level for a long-term solution until the democratic governance facility clears issues pertaining to its official position over its suspended activities. Patrick urges NGOs to follow administrative routes to operate under the current circumstances. The non-government organization National Bureau is in charge of regulating 2,228 NGOs legally registered as of 1st February 2021 to operate in Uganda.
We now move to northern Uganda, where a team from the Inspectorate of Government in West Nile carrying out verification exercise on how communities benefited from the Northern Uganda Social Action Fund, NUSAF, had to suspend funds meant for Arua district from receiving over 450 million shillings meant for communities that were allegedly misappropriated by the former administrative officer Ocheng Israel and a non-governmental organization identified as Endobo Paul. The misappropriation of funds by the former Chief Administrative Officer Arua District together with a non-governmental organization could cost government $1 billion loss following a petition filed to court by Equator Seeds company, which supplied seeds and other items to the community groups in Arua district. This made the team from the Inspectorate of Government, led by the director of the project Risk Monitoring and Control, James Pengwenyi, to ask district officials to reconsider settling the matter out of court and also engage government to minimize losses. James said the inspectorate is to start giving out reports at a timely basis so that action is taken promptly. On the disbursement of 4.3 billion shillings among the 2 projects for 157 Northern Uganda Social Action Fund, 3 in Arua district, he said there was no approval at the sub-county and district levels, which led to its misappropriation. Hence, the need to verify the exercise. The need to train the community about government programs had also not been done very well, leading to such misappropriation of funds.
Panic and fear grips Uganda's health authorities as the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo reports fresh cases of Ebola in the northern Kivu province. The Ministry of Health has dispatched surveillance teams to districts neighboring DR Congo to carry out risk assessment. In August 2018, Ebola broke out in the DR of Congo, which intensified surveillance on Uganda's borderline to counter any Ebola case from the RDC. And you have Uganda Ministry of Health swiftly putting in place control and preventative measures, which included border screening and vaccination of frontline health workers. The Ministry of Health is strengthening Ebola preventative measures following fresh reports of Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Now looking on crime, police are investigating circumstances under which one of their own died after his body was found hanging on a tree in Nakawa Division. Kampala Metropolitan Deputy Police Spokesperson Luke Owesigire identified the late as James Ochen, who was attached to the Ministry of Water and Environment. Residents of Banda, a Kampala suburb, woke up to a sad moment when a police officer's body was found hanging on a tree in what looked like suicide. The area police officer, with the help of sniffer dogs, was seen studying the scene before lowering the body off the tree. The deceased was found still in possession of some items like phones. Kampala Metropolitan Deputy Spokesperson Luke Owesigire identified the late as James Ochen, who was attached to Ministry of Water and Environment. Residents said the deceased was not known in the area. They, however, alleged that it could have been a well-planned murder disguised to look as suicide. The body was taken to the city mortuary for post-mortem as investigations continue. Nakawa Division Mayor, also Nakawa East Member of Parliament-elect Ronald Balimwezo, blamed this incident on the many idle minds occasioned by the partial lockdown that has left many youth out of school but wandering around aimlessly. Those are some of the stories that we were able to get to you from some of our bulletins. Priscilla.
Yes.
The Social Action Fund, that is NUSAF. We had NUSAF 1, we had NUSAF 2, NUSAF 3, but in all these phases, corruption becomes the issue. This is a fund meant to help rehabilitation of northern Uganda. Every time, despite a lot of effort being put, there are elements of swindling money and corruption.
Well, that's not a conversation that's going to end anytime soon. I'm reminded of last year when there was a recommendation that came through from the Attorney General. I think they were in reference to helping us or Ugandans fight corruption. He did encourage the community to take part in helping government to fight corruption, did it not? So for those of them that are knowing people that are engaging in this form of corruption, especially in reference to the fund that is being talked about, you know what to do. You can simply go to the office that is responsible and put your evidence, not just report, not just hearsay, but you must have evidence of what this is about, and then from there it can be followed up and the right proper measures of correction can take place. In the world all over, we do also have global news coming through. Felix Nkunda.
Well, of course, speaking about evidence, now we will take a look at Trump's impeachment, and where Senate did come out to say that the trial of impeachment is actually constitutional and it could stand the test of time. Now, U.S. Senate has found that the impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump is constitutional and allowing full proceedings to begin. Now, Trump's defense team argued that he cannot face trial after leaving the White House, but at least 56 to 44 majority vote in favor of continuing with the handful of Republicans backing the measure. Now, Trump is accused of inciting insurrections upon the Congress, which was stormed on the 6th of January. Thousands gathered in support of false claims that widespread electoral fraud, which was denied by Donald Trump victory in the U.S. presidential election. Democrats prosecuting the case opened Tuesday's proceeding by showing a video montage there for Mr. Trump's on the 6th of January speech and the deadly rioting by some of his supporters. That's a high crime misdemeanor, Representative Jimmy, that is Ruskin of Maryland, said of the footage. If that's not impeachable, then we do not know such a thing how to place it. Lawyers for the former president argued also that it was unconstitutional to put a former president through a process at all and accused Democrats of being politically motivated. We're now crossing over to Mainima. We're looking at people turned to the streets of Naypyidaw, Naynima's remote capital, on Wednesday after the police used rubber bullets and water cannons to break up protests, leaving 2 people in hospital, one of them fighting for her life. Now, the United Nations and the United States of America have come out to condemn the use of force against protesters and who want elected leader, that is Aung San Suu Kyi, and other politicians from ruling National League of Democracy released and returned to civilian rule. Now, we cannot stay quiet, youth leader came out to say and told the news router there that, of course, if there is blood shed during our peaceful protest, then what will take place in the wake of such rule by the army. Hundreds of government workers marched through the city, support of the civil disobedience campaign that sprang up in the wake of last week. Now, the coup has also been joined by people including doctors, teachers, railway workers, and tens of thousands have taken to the streets across the country. Now, back in Africa, in particular East Africa, and here we're looking at Tanzanian president comes out to make mention that he will not seek third term. John Pombe Magufuli is currently his second term as president of Tanzania, and the ruling party of Tanzania, that is Chama cha Mapinduzi, came out to also dismiss growing calls from the members of parliament for President John Magufuli to extend his term in office. Now, the 61-year-old president, who won elections in October, is currently serving his second and final 5-year term in office. Humphrey Polepole, the Chama cha Mapinduzi publicity secretary, has also told Parliament that Mr. Magufuli has no intentions of remaining in power beyond his current constitutional mandate. Some ruling party members of Parliament have been proposing for a constitutional amendment allowing the same to proceed with the leadership. President Magufuli is not harboring intentions to remain in power, Polepole came out to say. Now, this is a closed matter at the party level. However, I am not in position to prevent MPs from arising or airing the same view in Parliament or proceeding in Parliament for the same interest. But as expressed by my president, that is Dr. John Pombe Magufuli, he has no intentions of running again for presidency in Tanzania. Well, of course, speaking about terms, leadership, Tanzania has been a bit consistent. Speaking of all its presidents, at least Chama cha Mapinduzi has worked on the issue of succession. Clearly, Kenya has done the same. Nevertheless, Uganda probably is heading that way. Rwanda, the same, probably is heading that way. Burundi has headed that way. We are waiting to see how far they can go. How far they can go. It takes courage to be able to move on. You see, succession planning, if you do come into the aspect of governance, you do realize that it takes a lot of preparation. And no wonder some people get stuck at the point of handing over because of the aspect of preparation. Robert, how easy do you think it is to hand over power?
It's not an easy thing.
Why is it not easy?
It's not an easy thing.
You know, just hold it right there, Robert. You see, and the reason why I asked you in particular is because I knew that was coming.
Reason being,
when you talk about handing over power as a process, not as a privilege, how is it hard?
You see, power is not something you just hand over.
Hey.
It's not something you just hand over.
It is something you just do once.
Because, Felix, look at this. You know, sometimes scholars, when making comparisons, that's why I don't come to terms with them. Because different countries, different countries have different histories.
Yeah.
Then second, you don't just hand over power when you don't know what is next. If, for example,
is it your duty to know
let me give you an example. For example, if for the people in Tanzania, the Chama cha Mapinduzi, they have formed a party where they have a person that can proceed, and you come to a country like Uganda, where we go by the public wish, majority thinking. Uganda is not governed by individual thinking. So if the people of Uganda, for example, feel that with us, through democratically, constitutionally, we do not want to do that.
We're not talking about the people of Uganda. We're talking about you, Robert Chirabo. Why do you care about what happens after when you hand over power?
You see, for any change can be positive or negative.
Yes,
so if you anticipate negative change, then you rather remain where you are. if you anticipate,
You'd rather remain in power.
you'd rather remain in power so that you do not have the negativity, what could come after. But when time is ripe, and of course you know that yes, foundations have been built like some parties have over the years. Talk about the
Are
likes
you
of
the only
Tomato
person who's going to
Mapinduzi.
build foundations?
Well, it is a process unless we feel that it is then ready.
Who is we?
Maybe let me ask Robert another question. Don't you feel it's selfishness sometimes?
It's not about selfishness. It's being
When
having a
people
vision
start to
and
think
looking
that they are
ahead
the
of time.
only vision bearers, don't you think it's selfish?
It's not
I'm just
selfish.
asking.
It's not selfish in any way, Felix. It's about being visionary. It's about
Sorry?
being visionary and
That you're
looking
the only
ahead of
vision.
times. So if you look ahead of times, and of course you know the worst could come with your handing over, so you rather carry on to ensure that.
And there goes the challenge of African leaders. They fear for the worst instead of believing for the best when they're in places of leadership. But anyway, that's a conversation that can go on forever and ever on the African continent. But it is the season of love, and we're definitely doing a lot of love things around here. So I want to dare my brothers in blue this morning to do a love dare with me. We are going to text each other something
Say what?
nice. Yes, we're going to text each other
Using
something. So Robert, you're going to text me. Felix, you're going to text me. I'm going to text Robert. I'm going to text Felix.
I can't
and
text Robert anything. Love. Why would I text Robert's lovely thing?
But
No, 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 no. Honestly, you, Robert, don't text me anything. Don't.
What can I do that is lovely? I'm also wondering.
Don't text me anything lovely. I'll text Priscilla.
My message would be a nightmare for you.
Thank
when
you.
we
That's
return
really-
from this short music break, we'll definitely see who has texted who and what they actually said. It is still Good Morning Uganda.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Visit the nearest Airtel shop to get one today. Airtel, the smartphone network. Airtel is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Buyogera nyaffe Uganda ku Radio Africa. Tolemwa kumwenya. Oluwaka mwenyumwenyu akajjudde abanywanyi. Embeera y'obudde yatukolako mukwano n'obutonde obutubeezaawo ne butusobozesa buli omu okubeerawo mu ngeri ye kuba ffenna tuli banjawulo ne mu ngeri gye tukwasaganyamu emirimu gyaffe naye ekitugatta ne tufuuka omuntu omu bwe buwoomye buva mu kyokunywa ekyaleeruya jingatte drink n'aleeruya tamarin drink eddekende erikumala ennyonta ate nga wejjanjaba omubiri gwo ekyokunywa kino kye kitegeera emibiri gyaffe kuba kya butonde 100 ku 100 woomerwa ekyokunywa kirimu omubisi gw'enkooge aleluya tamarin drink n'aleluya jingatte drink bikolebwa ba aleluya reflexology healthy solution and nutritional research center limited wefunira ekyokunywa kya aleluya leero okuva ku maduuka wonna bakubire ku noti 393 24 15 66.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Interesting things happening behind the scene when it comes more of messages, this and that. But, well, that is something we're going to also be talking about briefly. But that was a lovely song by Lady Gaga. I last watched Lady Gaga. That was it inauguration of Joe Biden?
Yes, that's true.
She did sing the US national anthem. So that's the last I remember of Lady Gaga. I'm not so much a fan of her music, but I was surprised that she was brought at such a big function to sing the national anthem for United States of America. I see her more of this of hard music, so much of that. But then she came at such a decent function as well.
Lady Gaga is one of the most sophisticated designers. She's at least at the beacon and known for her outfits.
Yeah.
She has sung, she has performed in meat outfits.
Yeah, there's a time she appeared for awards in an eggshell.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
I can tell you, she's known for her sophisticated
outfits.
No, she was on point there, but I must say, but actually she's been around and she has sold over 1 million albums.
Wow.
So, Lady Gaga is up there when you're talking about music in the USA. She's hit the billboard at least 3 times, I know for a fact, and she has worked with most celebrated producers and artists, and most recent she's doing an album with DJ Khaled.
I hear we missed DJ Khaled, who was supposed to come to Uganda for the awards that were postponed.
Yes, they were postponed, but really, that's something for another day. Speaking of this song, Shallow, it talks about, you know, the closeness of two people that can, when they come together, and what can actually be formed out of partnerships. For example, what was formed between myself and Robert and Felix when I joined Good Morning Uganda. The year was 2020. The month was September. I remember it was the 21st day. And I was, you know, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to meet 2 new guys. I do not know them. They don't know me. How will that be? But then it was Shallow. Today, I must say, it's been a deep, deep journey that I've had with both of you. And I'm internally grateful.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome. And because of that, I think there's no better time for me to give Robert to read this message. I hope, Robert, you read this message.
Okay.
So this is, you asked us write messages for you. So I did write you a message. Do you want to read it yourself?
No, you read it, please.
No, I think Robert should read it.
Well, I'm not seeing it on WhatsApp. Maybe.
No, it's here. You can please. The one in bold. It has Nully.
Felix.
Robert, read.
Priscilla, read.
Wow, I can't read my own message. That's not allowed.
Well, anyway, it was quite a short notice, but I must say this is what I wrote for you. My heart lives to rate love, so I floweth out of abundancy. True pulse of destiny, so you know you are loved and celebrated. Heartily to Nali.
Oh, wow. That's really deep, Felix.
You know, because that's why I said, no, Felix, read it out, because I didn't see how it was connecting with me. I knew it wasn't my message.
And to Robert?
Oh, Chirabo. I had to write something. I was forced to write something. But here's what I wrote for you. Growth has defined your ability to overflow petals, just as they attract bees, so does your warmth or warmness attract human nature to you. And thus, you should know you are equally loved and celebrated. And you don't know.
Okay. Priscilla.
Okay, all right, my turn. To you, Felix Nkunda, your smartness is impeccable.
Hey.
I must say, the first time I saw Louis Vuitton on a gentleman who was on you, and that put you in another league altogether. So your physical smart, your dress code really
Thank
is,
you.
like you
Thank
kill
you.
it every time. I definitely love it.
Voila.
But also, you come with a lot of intellectual, you have wisdom, like the way you dissect things is mind-blowing. Like everything, wow, when I grow up, I want to be like you.
Please grow quick.
No, I can still take my time. And then to you, Travel, you're definitely a joy to be around. I remember when we got to know each other, you then called me a sister because of backgrounds that we shared. And since then, you have treated me as so, taking care of me at the times that I've been down. You have surely, been there. So I want to say thank you so much for being a good brother.
Chirabo.
I never get emotional.
Took care of you.
But wow, it's a lovely message, and thank you so much, Priscilla.
Okay.
Now you're opening up Pandola's box. You see, Felix.
Chirabo, read your message.
Read your messages.
Well, my message to Felix is very simple.
A guy don't say that you're reading from.
It is, bro, I miss that big chirevu. It had become an identity of you and really makes you look so smart.
Chirabo shouldn't try to be a message.
So that is all I can say. It had become part of your identity, and it always defines you. It gives you that male view of you, and I'm proud of you. That is it.
Now you look like a female?
No, that's not what he meant.
I'm just asking.
That's what I read. Like,
there was a part where he said he's proud of you.
to my sister Priscilla, actually still I refer to Priscilla as a sister. She's a PK. Felix, I don't know if you understand that, PK. So
Felix is also a PK.
Felix is also a PK?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that he's a PK. Well,
Yes,
PK simply means preacher's kid. So Priscilla, she's a PK, therefore she's a young sister to me. And I'm proud of having you around every morning. You cherish our mornings, you spice them up, and thank you for being part of the winning team.
Voila, the winning team. All right. So speaking of the winning team, we do have the petition that is in court, Chagulanyi versus Museveni petition, and we want to know at the end of the day who's going to be on the winning team. It kicked off yesterday in the highest court in the land of Uganda, and we want to look into the details of that, what transpired yesterday. But first, let's take a look at the details from yesterday.
Esther Kisache, Justice Paul Mugamba, Justice Faith Monda, Justice Pasen. A panel of 9 justices of the Supreme Court have had a case in which the applicant Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, who was a presidential candidate in the just concluded 2021 presidential polls, wants court to allow him amend his petition. Before court, the judges on the panel included the Chief Justice Alfonso Winyidolo, Justice Serara Chamoko, Justice Rubo Piaweri, Justice Esther Kisache, Justice Paul Mugamba, Justice Faith Monda, Justice Pasen Knight Twaise, Justice Ezekiel Mhanguzi, and Justice Mike Chibita.
My lords, the parties are as we were before.
Council member Rebecca Segona Kaliamagwa led the legal team for the applicant, Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu. In his submissions, Segona informed the court that in amending the petition, this doesn't in any way prejudice the entire petition filed in court earlier.
It's an empowering provision. It reads,
subject to the provisions of these rules, the practice and procedure in respect of a petition shall be regulated as nearly as may be in accordance with the Civil Procedure Act and rules made thereunder.
Segona added that before the petition was filed, the applicant was allegedly cordoned off by security operatives for 10 days, yet he was legally mandated to file his petition within 15 days.
To consider the 10 days of disability as having disabled him to put his case effectively and effectually before this honorable court. And therefore, now that he has his freedom and he has identified the gaps in the process, that's what he wants to present to this court.
According to Segona, for court to allow the amendments, it's not to bring in any new evidence in the petition, but to add on to the illegalities that were committed by all the respondents in this case.
Yes, it's a setback because we wanted to test the qualification of Zaiti Buhaburwa in contesting for the presidency in Uganda. Unfortunately, it has not been granted. For those other ones which already exist on the court file, I do not think it's going to be an easy task for him still. So we shall concentrate on that.
It was in the same court that lawyer for the applicant asked court to strike out Oscar Kihika's affidavit, the legal advisor to NRM party, saying there was no letter attached in the reply, instructing Kihika to represent the second respondent in this matter. This was objected by defense. Counsel Joseph Masiko, leading a team of 4 lawyers representing the Electoral Commission, asked court not to allow the amendments on grounds that the law provides for such amendments when there are no fresh grounds of the petition being introduced.
Equally, those two authorities did not and were not dealing with time that is set by the Constitution for filing an election petition, and whether going outside, allowing an amendment that introduces grounds that are fresh and would constitute fresh grounds outside limitation is permissible. They were ordinary amendment applications.
Biencha, a lead counsel for President Museveni, in his submissions told court that the reason why court put time limits, it was to allow court, petitioner and the respondents do their work. Counsel Biencha added that by granting Chagulanyi leave to make amendments, it will stop court from meeting the constitutional timelines for concluding this case as required by the law.
Even if this court finds that it has the right to amend, it cannot allow any amendments that are made after the expiry of the time for filing a petition.
After a 3-hour adjournment, court reconvened and the panel's decision was read out by Justice Stella Rachamoko.
Pertaining to non-compliance with the laws and the alleged commission of electoral offences are already pleaded in the petition. What remains is for the petitioner to produce evidence in proof of those matters. However, court finds that the issue of qualification of the first respondent raised in the proposed amended petition is a new matter which comes outside the limitation period of filing a presidential election petition.
Issues of evidence now, we see legal brains at their best, and finally it was said no, the additional evidence or the amendment to the petition regarding the first evidence produced by Chagulanyi team was not granted. Felix, first and foremost, let's understand these issues of petitions and evidence. One wonders, yes, you file evidence, then again you can amend this evidence. There's a time frame.
Yeah, maybe just also to give you a brief background of probably why we ended up in this position. The aftermath of an election in any democracy, as we said, I think last week, is anchored into the constitutional affiliation of that sovereign. In the same realm, there must be what we call a focus on run point in terms of litigation, that in the aftermath of that constitutional mandate of election, there must be a leeway or a place where one must seek remedy, which is court. However, because of the sophistications and the upper lift of the kind of election you're talking about, the presidential for that matter, it is only litigated in the Supreme Court. It is only the Supreme Court of Uganda in this case that has the jurisdiction among its only 2 jurisdictions. Its original jurisdiction is to hear directly presidential election petitions, and that's where that court is petitioned. That case is petitioned in that court. It is also sorry, it gives only the law of the Presidential Election Petitions Act gives someone a particular time to file an application, or that petition for that matter. Now, once the application is filed, thereafter court sets a day of hearing. Now, in normal practice, no wonder I had a counsel maided Segona Akaya Magwa saying, quoting the civil procedure rules, that it is not wrong for someone to seek amendment of what they have put in court. And he had reasons which were quite valid. Talk about the, we had the incarceration of their client. So he alleges that he couldn't have gathered the necessary evidence. He's talking about his limitation to move and all these kind of things, which are true. But those are very valid points in another court, not in the Supreme Court. That's why, if you listen to Counsel Biencha, was critical on that issue. Even the Attorney General came in to say, you file, this is out of time. You cannot file now because the days ended. You remember that no lawyers filed on the last day this matter. So time, they were out of time.
There's also a constitutional timeline where this case must be disposed of.
Definitely, definitely. So he said that this may cause a hiccup later on also for court if you start to adduce new evidence. But also, having said that, you do take notice that some of the matters that were alleged or that wanted to be put in addition, the ones that they wanted to add into the evidence, just to mention but a few one, they were challenging the validity of the president, using his office of the president to make performance of particular practices as sitting president, yet he was a contestant. Among them, they talk about the Emyoga using the fund, was launching funds after funds here and there, the transfer of the IGP, Deputy IGP, I think that is Lokecha and Sabiti, that transfer, even other major officers, the commissioning of different, that all that he did in capacity as sitting, yet at that particular point he was going through an elective process. So basically this is the evidence that, but remember, these that they allege to add on to evidence are fundamental in their case. And for me, that's the worry I feel for my colleagues who failed in this. But the court is also sitting on a different matter. If you had the allegations of, actually, if you listen to the submission of the Attorney General, he quoted so much the case of 2016 when he emphasized the aspect that was raised by Amama Mbabazi, and he emphasized that the issue of time is key. In as much as we want to put everything in court, but the issue of time was raised, that there's not enough time to hear these matters and all these kind of things. Yeah, so it is quite a, and of course you had the likes of the Counsel Biencha saying that Ndugu Medad and the team wanted to take court to a fishing expedition to tango into the untangable of catching a tilapia with an arrow. So it was quite interesting listening to some of these submissions. But the big question, maybe before my sister Priscilla comes in, now I call you sister, so you say I take care of you. I don't want the next time you're writing messages you don't talk about.
Sometimes
but I call you sister Priscilla also.
No, do not even go there. Please continue, my brother. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, time is but for me, I think one of the catchy ones was the one that they wanted to enter in reference to the president then, head of governance, government,
still.
head of state,
And
then and yet candidate. How I think that would have been very important in changing the direction of this particular case.
So much because the assertion, if you look at the petition, the intended induced evidence in addition, or to cause some addendum, was that this acted so much in persuasion of the vote, and this is the argument, that when you go and open up markets in Entebbe, blah blah blah, wherever he went, that it persuaded the electorate there, because you use that as a campaigning. True. Now you go and give a myoga, whatever, and give money, yes, all those things. Then you change IGP, deputy to the intent. You're acting. Everything you're doing is should be done by a sitting.
Is causing attraction to
exactly.
you.
So that in its own way was interpreted to have biased the election, the entire electoral process. But let me just say something, Robert, about these constitutional cases. Supreme Court cases, electoral petitions. You know that there have been a lot of recommendations, and since 2001, if you remember, Chiza Besigye versus Electoral Commission and Museveni. You remember that case? It was quite a locus classicus. But the recommendations that were given up till today, they were not actually implemented. The only implementation we got, if you remember the case of Elias Lukwago about the voting in barracks and all these kind of things. And this is why the Supreme Court may hit another hard rock because of failure of the institutions to introduce or to implement the recommendations from the past. So today now they are coming back because the issue of time was discussed in Amama Mbabazi, and as a full issue, it was responded and deliberated and was passed as a recommendation, but has not been implemented. You get the point. Talk about the issue of these agents who should be, and that issue of the president, a sitting president vis-a-vis a contestant. All these issues have been discussed before. So this is why I see, and it's unfortunate they weren't accepted to be brought on record, but nevertheless, they'll be sitting on Thursday to do their scheduling conference to agree on the issues that will be deliberated in the whole matter as one of the civil procedure guidelines of how
although just in conclusion, I feel like that submission would then take away the narrative that they were initially following, that it was on vote counting, that they did not win the election. They were, what's the word, cheated?
That depends on but here's what evidence that we're scrutinizing now when the actual trial
influencing numbers and you losing
and what they had filed before court.
No, but guess what? For you to have a win or to get the ruling on your side in court, you must induce circumstantial evidence that must later on contribute to your main argument. But what happens in a scheduling conference, which is going to be done, that the council will sit to agree on issues or the legal questions that need to be discussed. So they will identify whether they are going to discuss vote rigging, whether they will be discussing irregularities, so they will agree that we have probably 9 issues, and this is where we are going to focus. So, and they must be collaborating with the affidavits necessary to know which witnesses will adduce and all this kind of thing. But I think it's going to be a good locus class.
This is a process that just began, and we'll be updating you at every stage. But there's something very important that Felix pointed out, which is these recommendations that many a times are coming out in almost every presidential petition, but at times we're not giving them the due diligence. They resurface again. What do we learn from these petitions, apart from a win or a loss, is something that we should also seek to ensure we forward for betterment of our political atmosphere in this country, Uganda. When we return, we'll be looking at some of the stories that are in the print media.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Enjoy great value from Airtel with the all-new My Pakalast combo offers. We have customized especially for you the best deals on minutes, data, and SMS with our 3-in-1 My Pakalast combo to give you the best value as you stay in touch with friends and family. To activate My Pakalast voice combo, dial *100 *2 *1 hash to get started.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Coming soon on UBC. Food is more than just a great meal. It's even better when it's prepared with art. The Big Kitchen. Coming soon on your public broadcaster. Brought to you by...
Because we've learned to savor the moments that were always there, and they never tasted this good.
Daddy, surprise! Here is a pizza for you. Happy birthday to you. Daddy, you look not impressed.
My daughter, this is not meaningful to me. Alleluia Natural Drinks is my ideal gift today.
Hallelujah Day. Hallelujah Ginger Tea Drink and Hallelujah Tamarind Drinks are the most perfect, nutritious and healthy products that help everyone to boost their immune system to get complete relief of most sicknesses like joint pains, cough, diabetes, blood pressure, easy digestion, and many more. And certified by UNBS. For orders, find us at Bifro House on Sir Apollo Kagwa Road, opposite MBI. Hallelujah Natural Drinks, perfect for your health. Hallelujah Day.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
It is yet another day that the Lord has given us. So it is exactly about 7:30 a.m. this morning. Yeah. I'm sure you're waking up, you're set to go to work, or you're in transit to your destination. But also not forgetting people that stay at home, the housewives, Priscilla, being a Wednesday. I want to question all the ladies that stay home, the housewives. Oh, yeah, they really do so much. Most of the times people think my wife doesn't work. But actually, the work she does, you cannot try to look at an amount of money. You can't quantitate it for a payment. So this morning I want to say thank you so much for being the ladies that ensure that homes are kept very clean, and when people return home, everything, food is there, the kids. So really I want to crush on those ladies, on housewives this morning.
All right, with with 4 days to go towards Valentine's, you do have a challenge. We have left it into your hands. We have surely shared our sentiments one to another, and we dare you to actually go ahead and today send a message, send a WhatsApp to someone who you feel is dear to you, and let them know how dear they are to you, because this whole business of getting to Chirabo, you pass on, God forbid, you pass on, and then that's when I remember, oh, Chirabo was very nice, oh, Chirabo did this for me, I remember Chirabo was there for me. No, why not share that love, that sentiment you feel towards them while they are still alive? And what better time if not within the next 4 days? But speaking of 4 days, today is the 10th of February 2021. It is a Wednesday. We get to look at the Daily Monitor, what is making headlines in the papers today. Bobby suffers a setback. They bring you Bobby Wine defense team had raised new irregularities. They said Museveni was irregularly nominated. Lawyers say client was held in-house for long. Defense team says application was overdue. Those are some of the things that are making headlines in today's Daily Monitor. Of course, you get to look at the 2021 polls, additional list for elected LC3 chairpersons, and that is on the upper part of the paper. They bring you district elected chairperson, their party and area. In Homes today for the Daily Monitor, common issues about real estate scams. But coming down in the Education Today on page 6, government university staff go on strike again. I feel like this is the third or fourth time we're seeing this for government university staff. Then you also have police investigating journalists killing, and MPs stop debate over land's 7 billion request. And the Lizard is always having something to say. NUP agents return 25 million allowances to Bobby. They haven't learned how to account yet. That's a nice one.
And in today's New Vision, we look at Kyagulanyi team remains confident of victory. That is Kyagulanyi petition. Why court rejected the amendment? Still, government asks civil society to avail DGF report. Kumi rebel priest meets caretaker bishop, and 15 human remains dumped in Mpigi. Also, regarding the crash in Somalia, UPDF pilot evacuated. That is 2 of Uganda's People's Defense Forces officers that were injured in the chopper crash Friday in Somalia have been flown to Nairobi for specialized treatment. For that is home learning. Today we have Pass O-Level, Entrepreneurship, Geography, and tomorrow look out for Biology, English and Physics. Then interestingly, it is now that Israel's Netanyahu congratulates President Museveni on re-election, and that is on page 3 of the New Vision. Still, in Parliament rejects Lusanja compensation. This reminds me of a time, Priscilla, when government was pushing for a compulsory land acquisition bill. But maybe because it came in a time when we were about to go into campaigns, where someone for a tiny piece of land would demand for millions. And now here Parliament looked into things more so after the chairperson of the Uganda Land Commission came out and said, I only saw this on UBC TV during parliamentary proceedings. So let's hold it at that for further. Yes,
Daily Guide continues to give you more of what is in today's Daily Monitor. In the news, 12 Bobby supporters granted bail. The court-martial releasing suspects who were being accused of unlawful possession of ammunition. You also get to look at Editors Speak today in the world. A younger generation of Myanmar protesters are cracking jokes at the military's expense and winning fans on social media with their colorful, witty and often explicit signage. Then you get to look from the archives today. The Centenary Monument at Centenary Park in Kampala. The year was 1996, and it was erected to commemorate 100 years of Kampala City Council's existence and its contribution to the development. Where are we so many years down the road? Only you can assess. Today in history, 8 Fronanza rebels accused. The year was 1973. If you are interested in the politics of our country, this would be a good one for you to read up on. And Uganda's the first president to address parliament, who was Kabaka Edward Mutesa, and that was in 1963, November 4th.
In the New Vision, still Know Your Member of Parliament, a segment there for you. And today they are looking at Bululi constituency, Terego West, and that is Rukunjiri Women Member of Parliament. They bring you these members of Parliament there. Still more in history today. That is, it was on this very day, on the 10th in 1999, when Museveni ordered a helicopter probe, that is President Yoweri Museveni, on this day in history directed a new probe into allegations of bribery into 4 military choppers purchase deal. And still on the same date, in 1992, that is Tyson convicted of rape. Former heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson was accused of raping an 18-year-old beauty pageant contestant there in USA. And as always, they avail you with COVID-19 statistics. Uganda, the death toll stands at 327, while new recoveries are 91. Going to Kenya, death toll, Rwanda death toll is 223, while in Kenya it's 1,786, and to our brothers in Rwanda it is 66 deaths so far recorded. Still globally, United States of America leading in number of cases, followed by India, Brazil, Russia, and the United Kingdom. Please, prevention is better than cure. Perfect those drills, take foods, drinks that boost your immune system, and you're good to go when it comes to the battle against COVID-19.
In the Daily Monitor today in sports, we get to look at locally sports summary, FUFA unfair on smaller clubs, Spartans owner speaks out. You also get to look at the StarTimes Uganda Premier League table standings after the game that happened yesterday between Express and Vipers, ending in a 1-1 apiece. You get to look at draw blocks Vipers path to Ali Summit. Should they have won this game, they would be topping the table. So they missed out an opportunity. Football fans for local league, definitely you want to turn to the Daily Monitor for sports information. English FA Cup, flawless Manchester City will be looking to extend the incredible winning run when they travel to Swansea in the last 16 for the FA Cup round. And there's a picture there of Pep Guardiola smiling flawlessly, given what has been happening to Manchester United, but they have come back from it and they now continue to dominate what they have done in previous seasons.
Soccer is soccer in the New Vision Sports. Here we have StarTimes Uganda Premier League results. Express 1, Viper 1, and a picture there of Vipers Gisan Galiwango and Express's FC's Enoch Walusimbi vying for the ball during their 1-1 draw at Wankukuku Motesa Stadium. Sports Inside is the sports women, and who are they looking at today? Our priority is Tokyo. That is for the Olympics, and they give you training, that is Tokyo training camps, government, how it's prepared to ensure that we produce the best at these games. Priscilla, now let's dive into the East African.
Taking you
the Observer this time.
Yes.
Okay.
The Observer this morning, taking you deeper every Wednesday. We are looking at the 6th issue, and the headline for us this morning in the Observer is "Kidnaps, Soldiers Are Not Spared." There is a second Lieutenant Philip Ankunda, who is an army pilot attached to Special Force Command, disappeared on May 2nd, 2020, according to his sister, and she learnt about her brother's arrest 8 days later. And so the conversation of the drone, there's a picture here of a drone car, horror inside a kidnapped drone. Some of the stories Inspire comes in from the Observer this morning. Your questions about COVID-19 vaccine answered. And they also look at other news, how New Vision power struggle triggered Kaushenga's sacking. But if you are interested in parliamentary conversations, there is a frequently asked questions about parliament. What is a concourse? You don't know? Well, the Observer has got you covered. Inside, you get to look at Rwanda Air suspending flights to Southern Africa. We also get to look at mysterious illness reported in the southwest of Tanzania. And then also, is there the golden age for Africa's beauty industry? Those are some of the stories in the Observer. But for the world of sports in the Observer, they take a different turn of events. And they look at Mitchell opening to Crane's return. He was a former Uganda Cranes coach there. And is it possible that he can return given how Jonathan McKinstry has been performing? Well, find out what their angle is when you buy yourself a copy of the Sports for Observer. Rajiv Nsamba Exchange Rock as you have the Motorsport Uganda Assembly ongoing. So if you are also interested into motorsport, read about how that is going for them. And more stories come in for International Sports Diary. They do give you the Serie A, they do give you Premier League, they do have fixtures. And the one story also that is making headlines, Magogo's insistence on FUFA chair, a mockery for our football, writes Ben Misaga Emmanuel. Those are some of the stories that are in your Observer this morning.
I love the fact how people want to take over a couple of offices. Now elected member of parliament. Why don't you quit this? And
okay, so earlier on, when we were beginning the show, we asked you, can you hand over power? You said you said no. So why do you want someone else to
another?
Yeah, even you are being elevated to something else, a greater citizen, a former president of a country. That's a prestigious place to be in.
There's too much in his basket to carry.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
And for you as a leader, there's nothing so much in your basket to hand over. Contradictions continue.
Representing, no, precise, not a contradiction. I must be clear. I look at this is soccer, looking at it at the national level. Then this time now you are representative of people in parliament, and you still have a constituency. I think there is too much baggage for you. You have to drop some and continue.
Leadership is leadership at any level you are at. You must be able to deliver and then allow others to also deliver, which we do here every single morning on Good Morning Uganda. Remember, you can definitely stream with us on our YouTube channel, which is UBC Television Uganda, and be informed about what is happening around you, most especially in current affairs. This morning we do have a guest on Good Morning Uganda agenda.
Yes, so we are going to be looking at tourism, domestic tourism. How best can we boost domestic tourism? But you're going for an update also with traffic. So which route are you taking us through this morning?
Well, when I get there, I'll be letting you know. Upcoming is traffic updates.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
Authentically symbolic and insightful.
We should work so hard to evacuate this power.
Behind the headlines every Wednesday at 10 p.m. with Charles Odongto
was brought to you by Thank you for choosing MTN. Use MTN mobile money, bundles or other services to get Thank you points. The more you use, the more Thank you points you get. We look forward to
coming soon on UBC. Food is more than just a great meal. It's even better when it's prepared with art. The Big Kitchen, coming soon on your public broadcaster. Brought to you by...
Because we've learned to savor the moments that were always there, and they never tasted this good.
Welcome to the enlightening, life-changing, and world-filled broadcast brought to you by Glorious Church Ministries,
where all saints are equipped for ministry through the revelation of the new life by the word.
For the Bible says in 2 Corinthians 5:17, therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. The old things are past. Behold, all things are new.
Now, join Pastor Isaac Chituka every Sunday from 9 a.m.
to 9:30 a.m.
on UBC Television as we experience and explore this new life in God through our Lord Jesus Christ. Now, the Word.
Double Data. Airtel introduces Double Data, the biggest deal ever on smartphones in Uganda. Buy a smartphone, 3G or 4G, and get 100% data bonus from Airtel. Airtel is giving you 100% bonus data on all weekly and monthly bundles for every new smartphone connected to Airtel for the first 3 months. Dial *175*9# to enjoy Double Data. Double Data, Double Data. Oh, bino bye biruma abayaye. Airtel, the smartphone network, regulated by Uganda Communications Commission.
Buyugira nyaffe Uganda ku Radio Africa. Tolemwa kumwenya. Oluwaka mwenyu akajjudde abanywanyi. Embeera y'obudde yatukolako mukwano. N'obutonde obutubeezaawo. Ne butusobozesa buli omu okubeerawo mu ngeri ye. Kuba ffenna tuli banjawulo ne mu ngeri gye tukwasaganyamu emirimu gyaffe. Naye ekitugatta ne tufuuka omuntu omu. Bwe bwomyo buva mu kyokunywa ekyaleluya jingate drink n'aleluya tamarin drink eddekende erikumala ennyonta ate nga wejjanjaba omubiri gwo. Ekyokunywa kino kye kitegeera emibiri gyaffe kuba kya butonde 100 ku 100. Woomerwa ekyokunywa kirimu omubisi gw'enkooge. Aleluya tamarin drink n'aleluya jingate drink bikolebwa ba Aleluya Reflexology Healthy Solution and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Weefunira ekyokunywa kya Aleluya leero okuva ku maduuka wonna. Bakubire ku noti 393 24 15 66.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome and thank you so much for watching Uganda Broadcasting Corporation this morning. As we get into the half of the week, Wednesday, we want to see what the traffic looks like in and around where we are currently. From our studios at UBC, we want to see how it's actually trekking into the nearing regions and parts of Kampala. Now, away from where we are located right now, which is on Nile Avenue, we want to see how the jam is building up on just a few centers around. Of course, one of the major centers you want to consider is the Ginger Road traffic lights. And surprise, surprise, we can see that so far, today, this morning on the Ginger traffic lights, there's not so much jam building up. And even if there are traffic lights and traffic officers, you can tell by the fact there's green lines away from that area. It shows you that there are not so many people or vehicles for that matter on this particular road at this particular time. Time check is you do have 7 minutes to the top of the hour. So we get to look at other roundabouts that are nearby Nile Avenue. Of course, you do have the Garden City roundabout. Also, around the roads that intersect with the Garden City roundabout, which is Yusuf Lude, you do have Nile Avenue. Does not show you that there's any jam building up. There is a flowing vehicle route that is happening in this area. We get to look at another area that does affect jam, the traffic lights at Uganda Golf Course this morning. It also shows you that on Yusuf Lude on either side, either you're coming from Mulago or heading to Mulago, you're coming from Garden City, heading in whatever direction, it shows you that there's not so much jam, or there are not many vehicles that are using this route this morning. And of course, because of the traffic lights, one, you do have the jam building up here, and that's simply because these vehicles have been stopped by the traffic lights. But also there's consideration that this particular route is under construction right now. They are redoing this road, and so it does also affect how jam is flowing on the Uganda Golf Course. But lately, they have found alternative routes that have been used. Some of the alternative routes that have been considered while you are wanting to access Acacia Avenue is the route behind Metropolitan Hotel. And you can use that back route. Of course, it will lead you to Kampala Hospital. You get to Kaboja, and then you come out from one of those areas up that comes back and joins the Acacia route, taking you away from the construction area. That is one way you can avoid that jam. Alternatively, you can actually also use the end of Airtel roundabout. You will use Wampel Avenue and be able to get to Acacia Avenue without having to go through the hassle and bustle of that construction. Now, speaking of Acacia, this morning you do have a clean, clear route for you. Much as there's so many businesses that go on in this particular area, by daytime, by nighttime, it turns into nightlife. Yeah, but for this morning, we don't see a lot of jam building up, except at the cross section that you have at Kamocha, where you do have City Oil Petrol Station and Acacia Mall here. That is where you get to see a lot of jam. So surprisingly, on the other side is where you get to see now serious jam building up. This is Mawanda Road. Mawanda Road, people are using it as a shortcut, either to join Old Kira Road or to also be able to get away from Kira Road and get onto the other side of Mawanda, Kalere and Wandege, then maybe Kabwai, Sekatwe and things like that. And also considering that this is a residential area, it does depict itself into how the traffic is flowing this morning. But away from that, we want to stick to the main road and see how it's looking like this morning. On Kira Road, you do have it intersecting with Old Kira Road, which ends up into the dips of Kamocha. Another surprise, there's not so much jam. It's free and flowing traffic this morning on the main road, Kira Road, that intersects at the traffic lights. That if you're heading to Bukoto or you're heading to Lugogo, also there's not any jam build up. The other place that you'd have expected jam to be building up, of course, is around the Bukoto flats. Around you have Shell Bukoto, around Radio Simba, heading into Bukoto because of the traffic lights here at Kira Road, and also the traffic lights at around this particular hotel that we have here, Kabira Country Club. But also it shows you that the road is clear. So if you had been considering using shortcuts, I think there's no need for using shortcuts this morning, every Wednesday. Surprisingly, by the way, if you notice, every single Wednesday, routes are very clear all day long. So with that in mind, you can stay on the main route and be able to get to your next destination comfortably. However, a few red zones that you want to look at in this area on Moyo Close, where you do have Bukoto Heights heading into the back of Chisasi Bukoto route. You do have a lot of jam building up there. One, because of the traffic, and also the fact that these are residential areas. Now people are starting to get onto the road and get to their next destinations. That does explain the fact that you do have some red zones here, and also the fact that the road is narrow, so you cannot be speeding as it would be on a highway comfortably. It does lead you into the areas of Chisasi. You want to see that from Kabira, from Bukoto, you're entering into Chisasi. You do head to Bukoto Chisasi Road. It does intersect with the Kampala Northern Bypass this morning. It's also looking a clear route. You get to Chisota Road, which is an alternative to the bypass here. It does bring you back to Chisasi Road. Does not also look bad. Around La Jola Gardens, you get into Mariam High. It also does not look terrible. Bahai Road is also a clear route for you to use if you're coming from this part of town. You do have the business center for Chisasi Hub, and also it does not look so bad. So basically, generally, all over town, we are not having any jam coming up. But also just a reminder, this gives a lot of opportunity to the traffic officers to stop you in case you have not renewed your driving permit. Maybe you want to put that into consideration and get it renewed. After all, First Technologies has made it smarter with technology. Within one day, you can be able to go and pay at URA and then be able to go and collect your driving permit within under 5 hours. I'm pretty sure that is time you can spare to save yourself the hassle and bustle if you are gotten on the wrong side of the law. So that's a recommendation. Put it into consideration and have yourselves a safe day on the road.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios, this is Good Morning Uganda.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Welcome to the enlightening, life-changing, and world-filled broadcast brought to you by Glorious Church of Christ Ministries,
where all saints are equipped for ministry through the revelation of the new life by the word.
For the Bible says in 2 Corinthians 5:17, therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. The old things are past. Behold, all things are new.
Now, join Pastor Isaac Chituka every Sunday from 9 a.m.
to 9:30 a.m.
on UBC television as we experience and explore this new life in God through our Lord Jesus Christ. Now, the Word.
It is intellectually engaging.
Court does not sit to waste its time. If you have no defense, it chases you.
It is a ruling on the foundations. Business has been conducted in a certain way.
Banks take money from us, depositors. All of us seated here have got money in the bank. And even before you walk out, they've given that money to somebody else.
Deeply incisive.
Here is a credible alternative political force.
Let's get into this election and let's choose right.
Through that thought that you will contribute towards building a new Uganda.
Authentically symbolic and insightful.
We should work so hard to evacuate this power.
Behind the headlines, every Wednesday at 10 p.m. with Charles Odongto.
A very welcome.
Probably the most experienced talk show moderator in Uganda, with a team of illustrious panelists. Honorable Abdul Katuntu, a seasoned legislator, politician, and senior lawyer. Honorable Margaret Mohanga, a veteran journalist, legislator, entrepreneur, and development consultant. And Ramadan Gobi, an economist and university don.
There is no country which has lost, which has failed or has had collapsed democracy when it is above $6,000. So,
all on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Daddy, surprise! Here is a pizza for you. Happy birthday to you.
Daddy, you look not impressed. My daughter, this is not meaningful to me. Hallelujah Natural Drinks is my ideal gift today.
Hallelujah Ginger Tea Drink and Hallelujah Tamarind Drinks are the most perfect nutritious and healthy products that help everyone to boost their immune system to get complete relief of most sicknesses like joint pains, cough, diabetes, blood pressure, easy digestion, and many more. And certified by UNBS. For orders, find us at Bifro House on Sir Apollo Kagwa Road, opposite MBI. Hallelujah Natural Drinks, perfect for your health.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
A lovely morning to you once again, and it is Good Morning Uganda agenda. Thank you for keeping it on UBC TV. At this particular time, we'll look at issues of national concern that affect our economy, the political landscape, even agriculture. So it is a time when we look at all aspects of life. This time around, today we are going to be looking at domestic tourism, promoting domestic tourism. One would wonder why tourism. Tourism is one of the sectors that brings a lot of money to this government or to this country. Annually, it brings in about $1.4 billion every year, and it employs over 600,000 people. That is the tourism sector. However, it is one of the sectors that were greatly hit by COVID-19 pandemic. Remember, we mostly depend on foreigners for our tourism industry. So this time around, we want to look at domestic tourism. When flights were no longer flying, when people were locked in their countries, and we had nothing. So we could only rely on domestic tourism. Unfortunately, this is not something that we are doing very well as a country. When we look at our statistics, I was reading a report from the from Kenya Tourism Board, and it was very clear. They said that for them, 50% of the tourists there are domestic tourists. And annoying in these statistics, it is that 20.6% of the tourists that go to Kenya are Ugandans. That is about 61,542 tourists every year. There are Ugandans that go to Kenya to tour the various tourism sites. So with me in studio today is Saroma Semakula, who is the Quality Assurance Officer, Uganda Tourism Board. Semakula, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much, Robert, and for hosting us today. We've been here today. Sure.
To begin with, how has COVID-19 affected this sector?
Like you have just mentioned to the public, COVID-19 has had its own milestones. At the same time, it has really been very critical times for the tourism and the sector of hospitality. We have seen a lot of, you've talked of employment of over 600,000 jobs, but we have seen critical times when masses have lost their jobs. You know, the sector, right away from aviation, we no longer get tourists coming to Uganda in hotels. We no longer focus any attention now to safaris. So these have been very critical times for the sector. But however, again, on a more clear note, we can say that also COVID-19 has brought in lighter impacts on the sector, and this brings us what we are looking at in line with domestic tourism. As a country, we have come to realize, you have mentioned clear statistics that Ugandans have been flying to Kenya, been flying to Mombasa and all this, but then what is most important, that these times have reawakened Ugandans, more so the operators in the sector. It's a time now to think about affordable packages for the sector. It's a time when now we need to revitalize the sector by thinking about how we've been so much hit by our competitiveness index, in line with sanitation, in line with hygiene, safety issues, political, so all the times. But now in COVID-19, after the development of a number of operational procedures that are tailoring now to hygiene and sanitation practices, we now see that there is an improvement in hygiene, an improvement in our competitive index, an improvement. So we're now really getting there. So that is why, of course, 80% hasn't been good enough because we see that even as we try to develop the standard operating procedures for these facilities, again, you realize, Robert, that all that we are providing for, even as you enter the offices of UBC here, everything is changing. Today, a hotel which was housing 100% occupancy, it can't do that because at the end of the day, with the social distancing norms and the many reformations that have really come into place, and again, the number of costs that have really risen up. So COVID-19 pandemic, on a lighter note, yes, we can say yes, we are getting there. And after the releasing of the lockdown and opening of the airport again, we're now seeing the numbers getting better and better and better. And we can say yes now. We're all here now to see that we are promoting and firing on domestic tourism. Yeah, sure.
Very important for our viewer to understand when we talk about domestic tourism, these are tourists that are in that very country touring various tourism destinations. So we usually look at foreigners as the tourists that come to this country, but now we are looking at you and me, our Ugandan residents in this country, visiting various destinations, and those are what we refer to as domestic tourists. But Semakula, are you not doing enough? I was looking at the statistics, and there is a report that was carried out by Uganda Wildlife Authority, and you know that 8 out of every 10 Ugandans have no clue about tourism sites. All have never visited any tourism site in Uganda. That is something that makes me wonder, what is the board doing? We're looking at promoting, but statistics are worrying. 8 out of every 10 Ugandans, they have no clue, they have never visited a tourism destination in Uganda.
That is a very important finding, Robert. When you mentioned 8 out of 10, that is very alarming. But one thing that you should also take into mind,
by Uganda Tourism Board.
Yes, and one thing we need to acknowledge as a country and realize that for the past 2 years, all the energies have been on really showcasing the Pearl of Africa, exploring the Pearl of Africa, encouraging Ugandans to discover the Pearl of Africa. It has really been a culture. I know, Robert, where you come from, you might have been also participated. At one time, you might have participated in that illegal hunting, where you have seen these animals. And you know, there's nothing really special. But one thing we can tell and assure Uganda and Ugandans, viewers today, that Uganda is a very pristine destination, very attractive destination, very beautiful destination. So when you come up with such a statistic of 8 out of 10, we could say, well, that we have done enough, and we are still doing more and more and more and more. By the time you get that 2 out of 10, again, it makes, I'm just giving an assumption that if we have 40 million, 40 million citizens and 20 million have an idea about the sites and we're doing good enough.
But if I'm to compare you with Kenya, where Kenya, according to Kenya Tourism Board, it is 50% of their tourists are domestic tourists. There are Kenyans, the people within Kenya that go to visit these specific sites. Uganda, that doesn't mean good statistics for us.
Sure, that is very right. But then I think when you now today get the statistic as of now, I think we can start with ourselves today in the studio. I know that before COVID and after COVID, you're no longer the same in terms of how you're being very much attracted to your destination. So it has been really an eye-opener to us as Ugandans that instead of flying to Dubai to do your honeymoon in Dubai, why not really concentrate on where we can have the glimpse of nature and, you know, Uganda is, you can't describe Uganda enough. Much as we say that this is really the pearl of Africa and that is we're gifted by nature, what we have to do more and more as Ugandans, you know, it's not only Uganda Tourism Board, but it is a number of value chain players who are into this chain of actors. Uganda Tourism Board we shall promote and market, but we are not in charge of the packages that tour operators, the travel agents are selling out there.
So how do we promote this? How do we ensure we're in tandem to promote this for Ugandans? Because time will come when it's the only way to go. It was COVID, maybe something else could come up and we cannot rely on foreign tourists into this country. So what do we need to do to ensure that we raise our percentages to something reasonable?
The first thing that we have already done is in consultation with the private sector players. Associations have been very, very, very key, major players in making sure that we now try to come up with more attractive products and packages for Ugandans. Before, if you look at the reasons for the motivation for travel, the push and pull factors, they'll tell you that the reason has been simple. Why don't we go to Uganda? Because we find that flying to Dubai is cheaper than spending your time in Uganda. But now it's no longer the same. That has changed. We have now more affordable packages in the hotels. We see that all the time the tour operators are giving in more and more affordable packages than what could have ideally been thought of flying out to Kenya and all that. And we're also seeing that in the aviation sector, still the same. We are seeing the revitalization of the airline industry, and we are seeing that a number of changes again are reoccurring. So we are really comfortable, and today when we say we have a number of campaigns for domestic tourism, this has never happened before. We are taking on the PAL. Let's say we just started taking the PAL to Renzori, take on the PAL to Kabarole, take on the PAL to CP, and you're seeing the number of Ugandans that are flying to these places, that are driving to these places are really, that's why the statistic of 8 out of 10. Soon, even as of today, I know maybe out 4, maybe 5 out of 10, and indeed shall beat. We are not competing with Kenya per se in terms of domestic arrivals here and there, but all we can say that let us just get our bread and butter right.
Semakula, let's look at some of these factors. I wasn't so much into domestic tourism.
Sure.
It was after I hosted Lily that she gave me reasons why, and also she demystified this thing that is people who have so much and it's a luxurious thing. So I was able to know enormous benefits. But one of the encumbrances I found is that most of these destinations, why would I, a Ugandan, pay the same amount as a foreigner? Most of these destinations, even you look at, they target foreigners. So how are you going to ensure that there is a change in the way business is being done? Because they target foreigners. When you come in as a Ugandan, maybe they expect you to be a posh person who is loaded, and you're equating yourself to that particular level. So the industry and the players have not yet, to an extent, factored in that we have packages that are local. We can have also people, how do we make it more friendly? And that is an encumbrance. Some places even still charge dollars. So if I'm Ugandan, I'm coming with my family, and you're telling me this is dollars. I would wonder, why would I risk, why would I even go into this? Maybe that's why we'll go there for honeymoon, for certain things, big days.
Yeah, sure. The tourism industry is an export. We deal more with the foreign currency. We deal more with, of course, it is a dollar industry. It's, but then most important is now that we're talking about domestic tourism. I think what we have not really done enough as a country maybe is putting information out there to the stakeholders. That's not right when we say that the same amount of money we charge to domestic tourism, domestic tourists, is the same as the foreign residents, is the same as the foreign non-residents. There is a clear package that Uganda Wildlife Authority will offer you to visit to their parks. Very, very clear. That you can't even imagine how cheap Uganda is. With just 100,000 shillings, you're able to spend a night or nights in a park of your choice. Just with 100,000 shillings. And what we're looking at is, for example, if you say park entrance, or if I want to go to Marshall Falls National Park today, all I need is 20,000 shillings to spend a day in a park. Same applies to all these different sites that we are seeing. There's no site in Uganda that charges the same amount of money for a Ugandan, or for we now categorize them as East African citizens, because we are now under the East African community. However, all that we need and all that we'll still look into and request for from different facilities, it is something, again, we're always in touch and with the Uganda Hotel Owners Association. They've really been very helpful and very supportive to see that within their members, they are also encouraged to also think along the same lines of how do we now encourage. Not so that now, I'll give you an example. If a facility that has 100 rooms, you cannot get, right now you can't get 80% occupancy or 70% or 60%, because the mice is normal. Much as it's now coming up again. We're now getting more meetings, we're now getting more incentives, more conferences maybe may come on board as along the way, more events may come after relaxing a few things here and there. But what we can say is that let sector players, let stakeholders who will have a role to play, do their job. Together we can really get there. Pricing is very important for any.
Away from pricing, monetary factor, now let's look at mindset and attitude. Many Ugandans look at tourism as a luxurious thing. Maybe you've worked and you have a bonus, or only for specific days. And within their mindset, you talk about, you tell a person going to the mountains of the moon, going to Sipi Falls, going to the source of the Nile. So what are the benefits? How have you factored in the issue of mindset change? That a person will know that I don't have to fly to Dubai. I don't have to, there's some value, there's some benefit of spending money to move around.
Sure. Culture is the very important thing that I think we need to focus on as Ugandans. This weekend, I don't know, Robert, where you will be, but we have asked our stakeholders, our viewers today, to take on the Pearl with Love. There is a campaign that is ongoing now. That just sit where you are and take a photo with your loved one. It could be your mother, it could be your grandmother, it could be your wife, it could be... we want really to show Ugandans, we're giving back to Ugandans. We're giving back to our viewers that today we want you to also have a different experience. You know, this thing called tourism is not something that I will carry before you and say that, you see, this is tourism. This is what you're going to experience. This is the fun you're going to have. This is how much... You know, the energy that one will use after getting to these different sites, the image, the perception will automatically be different, be very different. And that is the beauty about Uganda. Everywhere you go, everywhere you touch, the people you see, it makes you really different. So it is only until...
Talk about the people. I was really very impressed the first time I went to Karamoja.
Sure.
And I saw the Manyatas, the people there.
Yes.
I made a mistake. I entered the Manyata where I shouldn't have gone. It was at the side of the girls' wing. So I was taking pictures.
It wasn't a mistake. You were venturing.
Then it was trouble. I had to compensate with the goat. But good, some person was there. You know, so the compensate with the Batwa. Oh Lord,
sure.
It was a very interesting experience.
Yeah, right, sure.
I was like, oh, we have Batwa. People are still in their own world. very interesting people, even by physical appearance.
You can never get the people we have in Uganda anywhere else in the world. So that is again dips back into the culture of our people, very hospitable people, very friendly people. It's only in Uganda where you find such characters, such caliber people in the sector. So really there's no reason why we shouldn't absolutely upgrade our skills of travel. And it is culture that has been a very urgent factor on all that we're doing, but also most important, we can't rule out the issue that we have talked about, the price, but also looking at our accommodation sector, trying to see the levels of professionalism. Because it is twofold. That yes, as we are doing our work, as regulators, as the marketing arm of government for the tourism sector, let also our sector players do their role. I don't want you to go to a room for honeymoon and you find that absolutely that is now leading you to having a divorce. Because ladies are very susceptible. You say, if I go to this facility and this is not what I'm really getting at the end of my travel, then at the end of the day, there are many things that have to be into place. So let us see that all these factors, we try to inculcate a culture of travel at the same time as also improve on our image, right, as stakeholders. Yeah.
So Mark, let's look at also these sites. I've made a few travels under a group that is usually there's the Uganda Bike Association. For them, they do a lot of travels. Sure. Travels are charity, and we go to some of these areas most time when I'm not busy. But one thing I've observed is most of these natural sites, because tourism, we can go for this artificial, but also there's natural sites. One of the things I've identified is many of these sites are in sorry state. There isn't so much apart from if there are water springs up. Go to Chitagata. You look at the place and even at times you may feel insecure. Look for even washrooms. Go to Sipi Falls. You get there and you're wondering. This is a destination, the road to the people you find. You're in something like a bush. Security is at times also wanting. Go to the source of the Nile. Really, someone would expect something magnificent, something that is really so eye-catching. So apart from the natural feature there that takes you, I think there's also still something that has to be done. On contrary to other areas where we've traveled, Tanzania, Kenya, if you go to a source, there's so much, the literature is written, organized. You know, there's a hotel nearby, the roads have been worked upon. Tourism, the sector, one of the sectors bringing in a lot of money. I think not being fair in terms of budget allocation and ensuring that these places are really very interesting to visit. That's why I would say, let me go to Masai Mara land. Because I'll find a tour guide, there's a hotel near, the washrooms are there. But ours, go to Nagalabi, you know?
Tourism is a people-person industry. And tourism is everyone's business. What you're mentioning is very right. That Uganda Tourism Board or the Ministry of Tourism, we shouldn't be there to supervise. And from day to day, on the operation side, try to make sure that you offer services that that wow your customers. But there has been there has been quite a disconnect that we have been able to overcome. A disconnect between municipal councils, a disconnect between local governments, a disconnect. That when we talk about tourism, we want everyone wherever you are. You talked about Chitagata. Chitagata is very beautiful, hot springs. Very beautiful. If you go to, you talked about the source of the Nile. What is that that is lacking that the municipal level of Jinja cannot really touch base and see that it works on with? If you go to Nagalabi you have, that is Uganda Heritage and Tourism Board that is in charge of that. If you go to Means Dungeon, that is a site that where you go and I say, hey, this is again in Uganda here, this is just here in Nairobi. But all that
the site I went to is in Warusi. I think the mountains, you know Warusi in the way.
Warusi Hills, that is
very interesting with rich history.
Warusi Hill is where Moses, it is believed that that's where Moses received the 10 Commandments.
Yes, I saw that tree and where God stood and spoke to Moses. And he's being dominated by witch doctors. Would I call them tradition or whatever?
And if you go to Jesus' grave in Buvuma.
And you're like, oh Lord Jesus. But there's so much interesting when you talk about Warusi Hills, if you've never been there. But there's so much tourism potential. Surely. But unfortunately not tapped into to make it very attractive.
Surely.
First time I went there, a friend told me, no, we must go to Walusi Hills.
Surely.
And when I reached the hills, I'm like, look at this potential.
You couldn't believe it. You couldn't believe it. You couldn't believe it. So there is really a lot of potential that different agencies, because Uganda Tourism Board don't only do marketing or regulation, but also do product development and try to profile all these major sites. I know many of our viewers don't know Walusi Hills, but you have just been mentioned about. And
where God gave Moses the 10 Commandments. It is on that hill, the features are there, you really enjoy, and a part of the Garden of Eden.
Surely, so it is we and you to see that let's keep giving this feedback. If at all tourists go to a video and they feel you know when we say tourist, sometimes I want also to try to avoid because when you talk about tourists, people always think that the color changes now to
the white man with cameras
to people who are very international and people with cameras like your video, like of course you're saying. But for domestic tourists, for domestic travelers, for you fellow citizens, I think the onus, the game is between I and you to see that how do we harmonize, how do we put together all that has been mentioned. If at all you find that a sector is dilapidating and then you are able to give this feedback. We always work smartly and we always are there to see up to the game and see that some of these features, because like I've already mentioned that the tourism industry is built on 5 folds. One, as we're promoting the country, but remember also the accessibility of these routes. UNRWA has a role to play. I don't want you to go to a destination and you're complaining about potholes and all that.
Like the road to Sipi. Cars stop at a point, then you have to push.
But all that, I know that very soon we are always in constant discussions here and there to see that all that is. Amenities, of course, no one wants to come to your facility, irrespective of how beautiful your flora and fauna, how rich you are in terms of biodiversity. But it's also very important that you also have a facility that at the end of the day offers a service that will always wow and humble down our clients. And that is something that, again, that we say as Uganda Tourism Board, as technocrats.
To what extent have you been able to push for this? You know, some of these areas are isolated. The one would first think of the medical aspect in case you run out of fuel, because sometimes you're driving, you're told, but you don't know the particular location. Continue. You don't even have signs. You ask villagers, I am going to this place. So how have you worked with other stakeholders, the health, Ministry of Works and Transport, to ensure that they are attractive? Even the foreigners also find it hard. You're moving, asking people, some will direct you another place, which on the contrary you may not find in other countries. Still within this region, everything is laid out smart and clear.
I think one thing that Uganda Tourism Board, when you talk about Uganda Tourism Board, we cannot leave out the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities. That's our mother ministry. One thing that as Uganda Tourism Board from day to day we always do is engagement, very active engagement, very positive partnerships and collaborations. But today, if at all we are to improve our services, we don't want to leave out the local government. We are into active collaborations. We already have ongoing MOU with local government levels to see how do we boost tourism, how to improve on infrastructures in tourism. We always do a number of trainings, all the areas that you have talked about, all the sites that have been mapped out in Uganda. We have a list of offerings, a list of minimum standards that are required of these sites. We have a list of what it takes to be essential and non-essential in all these sites. You have mentioned an example of just as simple as putting up a signage. I have never seen a signage that goes to Walusi here like it's just I picked that interest because I know many viewers out there will now go out to see where the 10 Commandments and where in Muvuma where Jesus' grave is. But maybe also someone was very shocked when he told me that I've been to this hot spring and I put an egg, and when I dumped it in this hot spring, within a second, it was ready. It was very amazing. This now pushes me even now to travel and adventure more. I went to Samuliki, now I have to go to. But all we are saying that these are combined efforts, and we are into different talks with UNRWA for the roads. We do a number of trainings with the private sector to see that we have a very professional sector. We are always working with the tourism police to make sure that the safety risk assessment issues are really covered, and people really. That's why you find that Uganda is a very safe country. One of the safest countries.
That I agree with you, Semakula. And unfortunately, time is not our best ally. But before I let you go, Semakula, there's one thing that has always disturbed my mind.
Sure.
And I know you're in charge of marketing, setting standards. That is the Ugandan Tourism Board. When you travel to certain countries, each country has got a niche, something that they push forward. For example, we have the gorillas. When you go to Kenya, they have the Maasai and all that. Even at the entrance of border points, the airport, the biggest posters you see are marketing that. When I come to Uganda, even at the airport, you see some telecommunication companies, mobile money, along the route to Entebbe Road. We do not have, there is something missing, really, to be honest. For example, in many destinations, you find a list of places you have to go to. Why some Ugandans are finding it hard to engage in domestic tourism is if you want to tour some area, you don't have sufficient information, you now go to tourism companies, agents, who have already high budgets. How I go to North Walusi, I had tried to go to Walusi, but when I asked these agents, they were ranking in about millions and this. But a friend told me, no, we'll be going to Luwero in our group, just driving, and personally I didn't even spend 100,000 to get to a venue. Whereas if I'd gone through a company, you know what that would mean. So I think there is something, marketing strategy.
I think I begin by, it reminds me to begin by congratulating the government of Uganda about our second Airbus that we have just received. And you see, when you talk about the changes in the landscape, as far as marketing is concerned, as far as our strategy is concerned, that even for those who are just flying into the country or flying out of the country, it starts right from how prepared are we. You have just mentioned something about if you go to the airport, we seem to still be missing a little on branding in line. If you look at the entire Entebbe route, showing you different companies, that water companies, telecom companies, national hotels. I mean, there are many things that you already see. But however,
buildings in the city have.
But what we can show you from today, within a month from now, when you go along that route and the airport, it will not be the same again. We have already really had a number of works that are already ongoing, also with the expansion of our new, with the expansion of the airport. And indeed, what we can really say is that as of now, we are trying to make sure that we rebrand our sector, we rebrand our airport, to make sure that everything that we are speaking about, because tourism has an image and perception issue, that all the time there must be something to remind you about, to visit a destination, to visit something. Like you're seeing the Kamocha Street, you're seeing the animals that are along that Kamocha Street by the Uganda Wildlife Authority and KCA in line with the UTB and the Ministry of Tourism. That all that, whenever you look at that, you always get that energy.
Yes, you're driving through and a child is asking, Daddy, what is that? Is it a goat? And no, it's an antelope. It's in the zoo. So tomorrow you go there. Well, time is not our best. All right, I want to thank you so much, Samora Semakula, for having found time, who is the Quality Assurance Manager, Ugandan Tourism Board. Move out there. It's not all about having huge sums of money. Get to know Uganda. You're next to Nagalabi, the cloning area of the Kabaka, but you've never stepped there. The tombs are just here. You're in Kasubi. Please go there. Pay the slight amount of penny. It has enormous benefits. Have a lovely day. God bless Uganda. God bless you.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Daddy, surprise! Here is a pizza for you. Happy birthday to you.
Daddy, you look not impressed. My daughter, this is not meaningful to me. Hallelujah Natural Drinks is my ideal gift today.
Hallelujah Day. Hallelujah Ginger Tea Drink and Hallelujah